This Friday evening, we begin by talking about the Hindi film industry's revenue script, which seems to be getting a rewrite of sorts. And this is one of Bollywood's most bankable stars who is driving this rewriting of the digital distribution playbook. With this latest film of his, Sitaare Zameen Par, after the big screen outing that this film would have, Aamir Khan's Sitaare Zameen Par is going to be available as pay-per-view on YouTube 2 months later, of course. And Aamir Khan is opting out of the OTT ecosystem by doing this. So neither a release on Netflix or an Amazon Prime. He is taking the pay-per-view route on YouTube. Instead, this pay-per-view view is raising questions if this move is really going to redefine how India streams content, or the question is this approach going to turn into a cautionary tale for the film industry as a whole? We've got this special report.
Bollywood's broken revenue model and an acute dearth of blockbusters has been giving sleepless nights to the industry veterans. Now, Mr. Perfectionist has come up with a novel solution. Aamir Khan's upcoming movie Sitaare Zameen Par is bypassing OTT giants altogether. Instead of choosing Amazon or Netflix, Aamir Khan is turning to a platform most of us use daily. Sitaare Zameen Par is set to become the first big-ticket Bollywood release to adopt YouTube pay-per-view. Control the platform, control the revenue. That's the bet Aamir Khan is making. Ditching traditional platforms means reclaiming power and possibly reshaping how Bollywood does digital business. A direct-to-consumer transactional streaming model on YouTube in India. Producers usually earn 30 to 35% from box office collections. YouTube pay-per-view offers up to 80%. Allows creators to reclaim control over post-theatrical revenue. Move cuts out OTT middlemen. But this model comes with its own risks. India's paywall problem. Can viewers who are used to free content become paying consumers? Speaking to ET Now, Girish, Wankhede, film trade analyst, says this is a gamble and an experiment. It won't work easily. Piracy, distribution loopholes, and a resistance audience make it tough. But if anyone can attempt this, it's Aamir Khan. A smaller producer could never take this risk. Akshay Rati, film exhibitor, told ET Now, this model exists in Hollywood, but in India, perception needs to shift. Distribution experiments need consistency before audience habits change. Film journalist Himesh Mankad says, unless audiences are ready to pay-per-view, it's a tricky bet. Piracy within 24 to 48 hours of digital release is a major threat. However, free streaming on YouTube with ad revenue might actually have bigger potential. YouTube, after all, has unmatched reach. Now, most experts believe this is a metro-centric calculated risk. Aamir's move also signals a desire to bring audiences back to theatres, reimagine mid-size film economics and sample new digital revenue models. Will Aamir Khan's experiment shine, or will it be Sitaare Zameen Par? The verdict will be out soon. Nivedna Prabhu for ET Now.
While we wait for the verdict, and that will unfold soon, but this is happening at a time when film producers usually take home just about 30 to 35% from box office returns. So this new route of distribution is promising up to 80% revenue through direct consumer payments, pay-per-view. It seems both radical and risky, but is India ready to pay-per-view is an important question to ask. Or is this experiment going to collapse under the weight of piracy, like we just spoke about, and platform fatigue as well? To unpack this boldness and the business really behind this move, I'm joined tonight by Prahlad Kakkar, advertising guru, one of our finest storytellers who understands how content and consumption and commerce, how they intersect in our country. And with him is film trade analyst Girish Wankhede. You just heard his views as well. He's been tracking the evolving business of cinema for decades. So thank you for making the time, gentlemen. Prahlad, this pay-per-view is kicking in after the theatrical release of Sitaare Zameen Par, and that happens on the 20th of June. How big a risk do you think Aamir Khan is taking with this approach of his?
I think it's worth the risk, frankly. He has many advantages. One is that he gets a major share of the revenue, whatever revenue there is. So even if it's a truncated viewership, and if it takes people time to actually catch up with the idea of paying for watching the film. He'll still get a lot of money for it, and much more than what he would get from an OTT platform. The second thing is that he keeps the IP rights. And that is very important as far as all other channels and everything else that is concerned. And he owns it right from the beginning, and it doesn't go to anybody. It remains with him all the time. And that is worth a hell of a lot of money going forward into the future. So when an OTT program actually takes off the film, they have a lot of times in the past actually asked for the IP as well.
Right. Well, we heard Girish's view as well, but Girish, you are not completely convinced. This could be a big gamble. What do you see as the most significant upside or downside for Aamir Khan if this pay-per-view model actually kicks? Is this really about control of the distribution of a film, or do you think it's just about commerce, a way to ensure higher returns of investment, which Prahlad believes it is going to be for Aamir?
Actually, this is a big experiment because nobody has ever tried it. And here, for a star like Aamir Khan, if he is directly going to OTT, first he is cutting off the huge amount of OTT money which he would have given, which he would have taken for the OTT rights. Now, with OTT, there are satellite rights also, that is TV rights. So, removing OTT and TV and directly going to the YouTube channel, it is a big risk because a film has to perform. Now, film is releasing on 20th. Now, after 2 months, if he is doing OTT release, YouTube release, it is not much difference than OTT because the window of OTT is also 6 weeks. Right. Now, he is doing after 8 weeks. So, if the film performs well on the box office, then only he will be able to make money on the YouTube channel.
Yes.
Whereas, if he had done it to the OTT channels, he would be he would have been safeguarding his investment by selling it to OTT as well as satellite. So for him, it is a big risk. For everybody, the stakeholders, the market watchers, for the analysts, it's a big experiment.
Yes.
If it works out well, then only we can say that
yes, so the film has to do well.
A
lot is going to depend on how well the film does at the box office. Prahlad, do you agree? Would you concede ground, at least on that count? Because this is an era of disruption. If you don't take risks, you don't reap the rewards. From a brand building, from a storytelling lens, you think this move is really disruptive, that you think this attempt could bypassing Amazon and Netflix could really change the game as far as the movie business goes?
I personally think so. But then you have to be very confident of your content. If you're very confident of your content, then you can take this risk because then it's a calculated risk. But if the content is the Magdol and it's iffy, then don't all bets off.
So are you saying that it would take an Aamir Khan with his perfectionist kind of attitude and approach, who understands his content, he understands the pulse of the Indian audience, only someone like him can afford to take a risk?
Not afford to. I think only somebody like him would take the risk because he's so confident of his content.
Yes. True. But Girish, as a platform, YouTube is offering up to 80% of earnings back to creators. That in itself is a significant shift in revenue dynamics if you look at it in isolation. How does that compare with what the same producers would make off OTT platforms, like you mentioned, theatrical releases, all of that? If you look at those options that you spoke about, which would be the contrast to a YouTube pay-per-view, how would producers really fare?
No, I think even if they combine OTT with satellite, that combined money is always bigger money. Because if it is if it is Z5, it will have a Z Studio also. So it is the combination of television and OTT. So it's a huge money.
True.
It's not a small money because it is always in package now. With excluding Netflix and Amazon, most of the time you sell it to OTT as well as you sell it to satellite.
Yes.
So that combined money is big. Now getting 80% is good money. But again, as I said, it is all on content.
Yes.
Even if he's a perfectionist, his last films didn't do well.
True.
So it's a huge risk.
Yes.
If that by any problem, if that film doesn't work on the box office, then the entire money which he was supposed to get from OTT or satellite, that will be totally vanished.
So something that
So
Prahlad always
it's
says, content is king, and he holds that ground, and he stands as a beacon when you talk about content being king. Prahlad, there's a lot that is dependent on the mindset of the Indian consumer as well. Many of us are habituated to free content. So then how do you market a pay-per-view model to a YouTube audience that's used to skipping ads and skipping payments as well?
See, I mean, 8 weeks after the release, if the film is a runaway success, which he's hoping for it to be,
Right.
then there's a huge level of curiosity.
Mm-hmm.
And the curiosity where if you have to pay, depending on what you have to pay. So I don't know what the revenue model is, but how much does YouTube charge to watch a film? Is it $200? Is it $5? Is it $20? What is it? So if whatever it is, if it's attractive to the consumer, and his whole family can sit and watch it at home on television without having to spend going out and watching it in any other thing. You see, the revenue model for OTTs are purely on the basis of advertising. The more advertising that is brought onto that particular film,
Yes.
because it's an Aamir Khan film and people expect a lot of people to actually watch it free.
Yes.
That is where the advertisers actually pay to advertise on that particular channel.
Correct.
Okay. Here there is, whether there's advertising or not, you might add it on, that's a different matter.
Correct.
But here, the revenue does not come from advertising. The revenue comes directly from the consumer. And I think it's a huge game changer.
That is the
very
game
honest.
changer.
And even if this particular experiment doesn't work because the content is not as exciting for the public as it might be,
Yes.
it is still the way forward. It is still the way forward for a lot of other people as well.
You think
I
that
think
India is ready to start paying per view?
absolutely.
And do you think it's going to go beyond films?
Of course.
You really think that people are going to pay for certain kind of content and pay to view it?
Precisely.
Girish,
So
you
when-
think the pricing of it is going to be crucial if at all this route, this experiment like you're calling it, does work?
Yeah, it will be very crucial because see, all the rest of the OTT like Netflix, Amazon, everybody has a pay-per-view avenue with them. They have a vertical where it is called on rent.
Right.
So you can rent a film
Exactly.
for a particular viewing, and that is already very much in vogue.
Yes.
But this YouTube will also do the same thing, but in the context of YouTube is not outrightly paying it to the star. So that is the big difference.
Correct.
Here, the entire stake of a film after theatrical is on the digital space. That risk is all there. Whereas on the middleman or the OTT, they take that risk because they are paying you upfront.
Right.
So even if film doesn't do well, then
You've got
also
your money,
you are
you've
safe
got your
with the
revenue.
amount. Now he is the producer, so he can take risk.
Yes.
And definitely it will pave way for other small filmmakers or other people. But the man who is starting it with the experiment, as sir has said, that he must be confident about the content. But every time, with every 6 months, the taste of the audience keep on changing. So
Yes.
it's a huge risk.
It is a risk, and tastes
without
are
risk-
changing, and it's not like every film that we expect
Yeah.
the big Khans to deliver do excellently well at the box office. You would have to agree with that, Prahlad. But there is also the added challenge of piracy, which is rampant globally. It is in India too. You think this can really, this kind of approach could address the issue of piracy that we have?
Well, it will not address the issue of piracy, but I think if the industry actually started moving towards this direction because they saw dollar signs in their eyes and because they were confident of the content, and we got better writers all the time because we don't pay our writers, by the way. I mean, one of the biggest issues with our movie industry is that we treat our writers really badly, so the content is always iffy. But if you were to pay our writers properly, we'd get a huge bunch of very good talent coming in and writing for films, and we would get a lot of content which is highly watchable.
Right.
Now, because we have such a large population, it's very fragmented. You have a Sham Benegal type film which has an audience for itself.
Right.
You find that audience. So what happens here is it becomes very democratic. A Sham Benegal audience will pay for a Sham Benegal film.
Correct.
And therefore will find its own niche. An Aamir Khan film will have its own audience.
Right.
A Bollywood audience will have its own audience, and there will be a lot of interest and curiosity to watch it in this new manner.
Right.
But I personally think that this is the way it's going to be. And after a little bit of teething problems and the piracy issue, which needs to be addressed really seriously.
So over
Because
here
if the
we are
film
talking, and
industry-
Prahlad is correct in pointing out that this will cause a certain kind of democratization. This
Yes.
kind of access to the kind of content that is niche as well gets a fair play when you're talking about pay-per-view, because then
Correct.
an audience knows what it is paying for and why it is paying for it, because there is an
Exactly.
established notion of what a certain artist is going to bring to the table, in this case an Aamir Khan. But to be able to kind of do that, you need a certain amount of successes. You think that this could lay the groundwork, as it were, for a model like this? This is a good model to start with?
See, anyway, the virality of the publicity today, whatever publicity that you do, however good or bad it is, if the film doesn't stand up to it, it doesn't work. Whereas in social media, there's a certain virality which, when people like your film, they actually post it and tell 500 other people how good they felt about it.
Yeah.
And that is actually the key to the whole thing, is to how to tap into that virality so that the film actually goes ballistic.
But just try and imagine if a Sitaare Zameen Par doesn't reap in the pay-per-views on YouTube, Girish. Will
Yes,
the
sir.
industry then blame the model, you think? Or do you think fingers will be pointed at the content, at the movie itself?
It will be purely content, I'm telling you. If it is the content is great, then obviously it will work everywhere.
Right.
It will work theatrically, it will be on YouTube, everywhere. Because at the end of the day, this is the content business. People will see it, and if the film is good, it will work everywhere.
Right.
Irrespective of its platform, irrespective of its distribution work, irrespective of its international distribution, it can work anywhere.
Yes.
So at the end of the day, we have to see how better the content is.
No, the reason I ask you this is because traditionally, the post-theatrical rights, they have formed this predictable income stream, Prahlad. You'd have to agree with that, because now that we are talking about a new route, one wonders if this is going to be a risk to the kind of financial planning that movie projects have been used to.
Well, they'll have to change. Anyway, the films are flopping dead left, right, and center because the content is so useless.
Right.
And that the big screen, experience is totally different from the small screen experience.
Yes.
So if the content is good, it works on both screens.
Fair enough.
If the content is not good, and it's got lots of pageantry and spectacle and mardhar and action, it might work on the big screen, but it won't work on the small screen.
Right.
Okay, so here we have a really Hobson choice with the industry. Is, do you improve your product? Do you pay your writers better money? Do you acknowledge them as serious, providers of entertainment, or just some hacks who are writing on the side and they're writing the script while the shooting is going on? I mean, all those practices will go out of the window.
Correct.
You can't take these people for granted. You have to have a bound script.
Correct.
You have to do a certain degree of AI market research on the bound script to see whether that script is actually going to engage.
Right.
And the fact is that AI is going to change a whole lot of things in terms of market research.
Oh, definitely.
Definitely. Because AI is far more accurate in actually predicting trends than any amount of human, guesswork.
Right.
So there will be a lot of professional AI outfits who will turn on and say, give us your script. We will tell you whether it's worthwhile spending money on it.
Right. Some of that is actually already happening, but to see a movie as a product management kind of drill, that requires a mindset shift. But what about advertising and brand partnerships, Prahlad? Do you think they're going to play a bigger role in such direct-to-consumer digital releases, especially if the platform is still YouTube?
Advertising will become a very important part of marketing the films, to be very honest.
Right.
Because at the end of it, the advertising will also be done on YouTube.
Correct.
And on social media.
Right.
So you don't have to advertise on television per se, on cricket matches and things and pay through your nose. It'll be done more through the virality process of engaging with your target audience.
Right.
First, AI will segment your target audience and say, this is most likely who you are going to be targeting.
Correct.
And if this is the most likely thing, then the viewership patterns will change. Because then when you are paying for a film,
yes,
then the whole family gets together and say, if we pay for it once, everybody can watch it together.
Correct, right, absolutely. But this targeting bit is that important
everybody
piece.
Is watching discipline different. Kids watch it differently. The parents watch it differently.
Correct.
Servants watch it differently, etc., etc. You know, the moment you're paying for it,
yes,
then it becomes very democratic. Then everybody says, is invited.
Correct.
Say, hello, friends, family are the animals. Everybody, we are paying for it. You want to come and watch it, come home.
So this targeting is the important piece now. Many believe that this is going to be a metro-centric bet, because then regional, small-town India, I don't know if they can be part of the same playbook. You think, Prahlad, they will be? Or is it going to create a digital divide?
There's going to be, the biggest growth is going to come from rural.
You think?
Yeah, absolutely, because they have no access.
So we'll have to see. I mean, yes, absolutely. I mean,
they don't have to get into the Belgadi and then head off in a tractor to some small town to watch it in a movie hall.
Right.
They can watch it in the panchayat.
Correct.
With a common television set,
and
everybody shells out 5 rupees each and says, "Okay, aajao."
So Girish, to round it up, between theatrical, OTT, YouTube, pay-per-view, how would you rank them for revenue potential in 2025 now and beyond?
Now we always think that, there will be always a priority of theatrical releases. Theatrical box office is humongous. Nothing can be compared to it. And the second priority will be always OTT platforms, followed by satellite. That is, satellite means television. So these three major avenues will be always driving the entire space when the big stars films or the big budgeted or big ticket films are concerned. Right. There are certain other films which are very much content driven or which are more art house films. They can directly go to OTT or they can directly go to YouTube also. There are several production houses who have made big name in creating content from OTT, and then they have been adopted by Netflix and Amazon. So there are several illustrations of that as well. But going forward for a regular feature film, Hindi feature film at least, it will be always a priority for the producer to make that money from theaters. Then to go to television, means OTT and digital, and then move forward to other democratic avenues like YouTube, where it is again pay-per-view.
Right. So that's not changing for a bit, is Girish's view. Well, this may just be Bollywood's boldest digital experiment yet, one that fuses stardom with streaming in a way that we haven't seen before. And Aamir Khan is clearly betting on this more empowered, more direct model. But whether this becomes the new normal or remains a one-off, that's going to depend on whether audiences are ready to pay, not just with their time and attention, but with actual money. And it certainly depends on how good the content is. My thanks to Girish Wankhede and Prahlad Kakkar. Thank you for joining us with your sharp insights tonight. We'll be watching this space very closely.